Hello, everyone, and welcome into another episode of the Big Blue News Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Beastmore, and before we begin into the podcast, I want to wish everyone a happy Easter. But now let's get into it. So there's been a lot of news today. Obviously, nothing official yet, but earlier today, Jack Pilgrim of KSR said that Ugonna Onyenso may return to Kentucky for his sophomore season. Obviously, the last time I did a podcast episode, he announced he would put his name into the transfer portal and transfer to another team. But now there's a chance that he may return. And then obviously, later on today, just now, Kyle Tucker also tweeted out that Ugonna Onyenso may return to Kentucky, saying it'll be between Ugonna and his uncle. But like I said, there's a chance he could return. And then also Kyle Tucker added on to the tweet saying, I don't think it's related at all to what Oscar Tshiebwe does, because some people are saying that Ugonna Onyenso transferred because Oscar may be coming back. So we might be able to get both of them back. Kyle Tucker also added, at this point, it seems increasingly likely Oscar returns. So UK could end up getting both Ugonna Onyenso back along with Oscar Tshiebwe. And that would be crazy, because then you would have Aaron Bradshaw, Ugonna Onyenso, and then Oscar Tshiebwe, and then hopefully Lance Ware, but I could see definitely Lance Ware transferring. If that does happen, we end up getting both Ugonna Onyenso and Oscar Tshiebwe back, because you would have three big men. You wouldn't really necessarily be needing a fourth big man with Lance Ware, and I would be sad to see him go, but if he does stay, UK would have four solid big men on the roster, and that's something that UK hasn't had in years. Obviously, you would have a great rim protector in Aaron Bradshaw and also Ugonna Onyenso. So, obviously, with those two players, UK would have shot blockers, at the rim, and that's what UK hasn't really needed the past couple of years. And Oscar Tshiebwe obviously isn't a rim protector. He's been pretty bad with defense, especially this past year. But man, it would be so exciting to see UK next year have both Ugonna Onyenso and Oscar Tshiebwe back. Obviously, it's not for sure. There's been no decision yet for both of them, but it would be great, because you think about it, next year you could have, as your starting lineup, you could have DJ Wagner, Rob Dillingham, whoever you would put at the three. I mean, Chris Livingston possibly if he returns. At the four, then Aaron Bradshaw, Oscar Tshiebwe at the five, or have Oscar Tshiebwe at the four, Aaron Bradshaw at the five, whatever you would decide. Then coming off the bench, you would have Reed Sheppard. Oh, obviously, I forgot about Justin Edwards. So Justin Edwards at the three. My bad, you also. Yes, so the starting five would be DJ Wagner, Rob Dillingham, Justin Edwards. Then at the four, you could put Oscar Tshiebwe there, Aaron Bradshaw at the five. That would be a great, solid starting five right there. Then off the bench, you would obviously have Reed Sheppard. You could have Antonio Reeves if he does come back. And then also Ugonna Onyenso, Lance Ware. That team would be great. Obviously, I would love to get also Chris Livingston back, because if you can get Chris Livingston, Ugonna Onyenso, Oscar Tshiebwe, and Antonio Reeves back, there's no question UK should be a favorite to win it all next year. And I would love that, because I don't think anybody could stop that. I mean, that's a great starting, great starting five, and then a bench five. That would be a 10-man lineup. You could potentially run a platoon system like you did in the 2014-2015 season. Obviously, Coach Cal doesn't really want to do that, because he said that really messed up with recruiting the following years, because other coaches were saying, hey, if you go there as a recruit, you would only play 20 minutes at a time, which isn't a lot of playing time. So obviously, platoon system probably wouldn't be in key, but it's obviously something UK could run next year if UK can get all these returning players to come back with Ugonna Onyenso, Oscar Tshiebwe, Chris Livingston, and Antonio Reeves. If you get those four players to return, those four key players, along with UK's recruiting class that's coming in, there's no question UK should not be a favorite to win it all. And UK would have a lot of depth. They would finally have a rim protector, and it would be very exciting next year. Obviously, UK would probably need to get a backup four as well, because you need somebody, in my opinion, as a four to be able to shoot, be able to space the floor. Someone like Nate Sestina that UK got a few years ago. Nate Sestina, he played well with his only one season there at UK. Sadly, UK didn't go to the NCAA tournament, neither did any other NCAA team, because the tournament got canceled that year due to COVID-19. But UK, if they can get these players to return, along with the recruiting class this upcoming year, 2023, I think UK will have a great chance to win it all. I'm very excited with all the rumors and speculations that are going around, but usually Kyle Tucker is right, and I believe that we could see Ugonna Onyenso and Oscar Tshiebwe back in the blue and white next year, and I would be very, very excited about that. And hopefully that will happen, and hopefully both of those announcements will be coming soon. UK then can go out, try to find players in the transfer portal, see who they need. Probably, like I said, a backup four. And that's all UK really needs. Another player who can, spread the floor, be able to shoot threes. Like I said, like a player like Nate Sestina. That's all UK needs. And UK, I think, could be back to being a powerhouse team next year. But obviously, we will have to wait and see what happens between every player that has announced that they are testing the waters. So Oscar Tshiebwe and Antonio Reeves. Chris Livingston obviously hasn't announced yet. I hope he doesn't announce he'll be testing the waters. More than likely he will, but obviously I'll keep you all up to date with all that info once it comes out. So far, like I said, we're still waiting on players' announcements with CJ Frederick, Chris Livingston, and then obviously Oscar, if he's going to fully go into the NBA draft or return back to college, we'll see. Chris Livingston. So there's a lot of players that hasn't announced yet, and I'll keep y'all up to date for sure. Make sure to follow my social media down below. But I'm so happy to hear all this great news from Kyle Tucker. Hopefully it comes true. Obviously, Kyle Tucker and Jack Pilgrim, they both have more sources than I do. Obviously, I'm working on trying to get better sources within the program, and hopefully I eventually will. But I appreciate you all watching this, and I'll keep y'all up to date. I'll make sure to tell y'all what Jack Pilgrim and Kyle Tucker are talking about, because this is big, big news for Kentucky since it just came out today. I'm excited, but that's all I have for today's podcast. I know it wasn't long. It was a shorter podcast, but I appreciate you all watching. I hope you all had a great Easter, and I'll come back with another podcast very, very soon. Go Cats. Hopefully Kentucky can get these players to return, because it would be great. But thank you all for watching. This is Chris Beatsmore signing out of the Big Blue News Podcast. So